Hi, beautiful people. Wolo here. I promise to be consistent this year, but things have not been, things are trying to make me not be consistent. But I promise myself that no matter what, I will try as much as possible to create content on my YouTube channel. My YouTube has been suffering, and I feel that I need to start giving it the attention it deserves because it's from YouTube that I became known in my immigration consulting business. By the way, if you're new to this channel, thank you for subscribing. I saw that I lost some followers because I've not been consistent, and that's normal, So, well, I want to be consistent this year, and I pray that I get those followers back and new followers. Okay, so this video is just to give a brief story of my trip to Nigeria. Last year, I traveled twice to Nigeria. The first trip was in July, and the second trip was in December. Yeah. So the first trip in July, I went alone. I spent almost 8, 9 days. The second trip, which was with my family, we spent 3 weeks. And honestly, this last trip, which was in December, that we spent 3 weeks, I didn't enjoy it. For some reasons, I was looking forward to it. Like I was looking forward to it seriously, but for some reasons, I didn't enjoy the trip. Number one reason why I didn't enjoy the trip was because my stomach is sensitive. And I noticed that when I traveled in 2023, when we traveled in 2023 to Nigeria, the first set of meals I ate was not good for my stomach, and I was having to, use the washroom multiple times in a day, like I was purging. So because of that, that experience made me to not really enjoy the food. And I was, in fact, it was the food I was looking forward to, all the thought that, the food is tasting different. You see some things, you plan in your mind that you will devour, and then you get there, your stomach is not cooperating. So my stomach was not cooperating. It didn't cooperate in 2023. So in July, when I traveled, because of that fear or that experience that I had in 2023, I decided not to eat anything. In fact, I didn't eat anything all through. I was just surviving on bread throughout my 8 days. I think 8 days stay in Nigeria. I survived on bread. It was the last day that I took rice, and thankfully that did not impact my stomach. And then I was saying, okay, my stomach is good. December, I would go and eat all the goodies. And yours truly, we got to Nigeria in December. And of course, my stomach again started misbehaving after eating the first set of meals, the first meals that I ate for the first 3 days. My stomach started misbehaving. So I had to go back to default setting to try to regulate things. And that was it. So surviving on bread for almost, 3 weeks was not a good experience, of course, and that made me not to go out as much as I really wanted to, because you have to do your calculations. Okay, you're going to be in traffic for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours. Is there a nearby toilet? Is the toilet good enough? All those mental calculations just made me kind of not really explore. And we just stayed. So I didn't enjoy my trip to Nigeria. The only thing I did was I went to the market. I deliberately decided not to send anybody to go to the market for me. Typically I send people to go to the market for me, but this time around I didn't send anybody to go to the market for me. I went to the market myself. The reason why I went to the market was because I have my staff, my team members are working from Nigeria. They are working in Nigeria, and I want to use my experience in the market to gauge how much I should be, my company should be paying them well, right? So we don't just sit down in the diaspora and say, oh, okay, we can hire somebody from Nigeria and pay the person 50,000 naira and the person will be okay. No. So you have to go to the market. And you're saying this so that those of us who are in diaspora that own businesses in Nigeria, please go to the market yourself. Whenever you visit Nigeria, go to the market yourself, to go and see the price of things in the market yourself, so that when you're hiring people, you will have that empathy to pay them well, pay them something that is at least okay, not something that you just feel, oh, in Nigeria they can manage 50,000 naira or they can manage 40,000 naira. No, please go to the market yourself. So I went to the market myself and I saw things for myself. I bought food. I wanted to know the cost of feeding, or the cost of food, how much food was, so that it would help me, put a proper perspective on what I should budget when it comes to paying my team members their salaries. So that experience made me sad. I am so, so sad. It made me sad for Nigeria because I just don't know how people are surviving, right? There is so much. I feel that social media is distorted in such a way that you see a lot of people display wealth on social media, and the reality of things on ground is not really displayed as much as people want to see. So I feel that that experience going to the market was a big eye opener for me, that a lot of people are suffering, that things are very expensive. And it made me have empathy, right? It made me have empathy for the people living in Nigeria. So that's number two experience. Number three is that um, I don't know. Nigeria is sweet to an extent, right? There are certain things you do. Like if you want something now, you can get it. Like if you have, like those of us, let me not say it's abusive, kind of. Those of us who are in diaspora, when we come back, we want to like, have people that can go on errands for us at our beck and call. Whereas if we have to do that in Canada here, you'll be paying through your nose if you have to send some money on an errand, right? So um, we had a standby driver that we could send and the person can go do things, come back, So that enjoyment was there, kind of. I would like call it enjoyment, where you have somebody going on errands for you. That enjoyment was there to an extent, which I appreciate. But um my overall experience was that um it was a mixed feeling for me because we lived abroad for a long period of time. For us now, this will be our 10th year in Canada, and your mind is thinking, okay, do you want to retire back home? Do you want to retire in Canada? Like that's the thought line, right? A lot of people will say, oh, they want to retire back home. A lot of people will say they want to stay back in Canada. But for us, we just wanted to experiment to see if Nigeria is a place we can retire back to. We have our properties there. We are in Canada here, so leaving those assets there, we don't know if our child, we just have one child for now. We don't know if our child will want to go back to Nigeria anytime in the future. She's purely Canadian, although she enjoyed Nigeria, like she enjoyed the sun and all of that, but at some point she got tired. So you get to that point where you start thinking, do you want to retire back home or do you want to stay in Canada? So that thought was what took us there. And the experience was, for my spouse, he didn't really like, he didn't really enjoy it. So we are now at a crossroad. We are now at a crossroad on what to do, because I mean, we are planning our retirement. We are not young people. We are planning our retirement, and we have to plan very well if we want to go back or if we want to stay, and to consolidate all of our assets. So now, when in terms of consolidating our assets, my experience has not been good, because each of the times I've traveled to Nigeria, I've tried to see how I can do these consolidations. Like for those of us who worked, and we have our pension, I couldn't withdraw my 25% of my pension. It's still there. I tried to see if I could close it or get my 25% of it, but they are not. I've gone there several times. They are still not doing anything about it. And I'm honestly tired. And then the assets as well, the physical assets. I tried to contact the people that we bought those assets from to see if we could get proper documentation and stuff like that. They've not been responding. So you see all this chaos, and those assets, they were bought when we're not even planning to come to Canada, right? So although we have our own, like we have our main house, which is in Port Harcourt, but we don't know whether we want to retire back to Port Harcourt. We could not even go to Port Harcourt because flight tickets was very expensive. I wanted to go to Port Harcourt, but to go and check on the property, but flight ticket within Nigeria was too expensive during the Christmas period. So it didn't make any sense spending almost 1 million naira or 2 million naira on flight ticket, within Nigeria. So it didn't make in that sense. So, you know, all these things just brings us to a situation where we are now at a crossroad on if we want to retire back to Nigeria or we want to stay in Canada. Surely the only good thing that came out of the trip was because the weather, of course, hot, but too hot to for our liking. At some point, I was like, this weather is just crazy, you know. But the weather being hot was the only good out of the trip. Every other thing was just like meh, you know, just there. In terms of events, shows, we are not those kind of people. You know, my husband is a very like social averse kind of person. He likes to stay on his own. I'm the social person and now I'm becoming more like my husband. You know, when you live with somebody for a long period of time, somehow you start becoming like him. So I'm becoming more like my husband, where like all these things, they don't really interest me anymore. Like going out for parties, shows, events, blah blah blah. They don't really interest me anymore. After living in Canada for several years. So yeah, so if you ask me what was my experience, this is my experience so far. Thank God we none of us like fell sick, apart from me. That was you know, not, my stomach was not aligning with the food. My husband and my daughter's stomach, yes, is always good, perfect. They eat whatever they like, but me, my stomach is very sensitive. So apart from that, the trip was just there. You know, at the end of the day, we are back to our drawing table again, to be asking critical questions, like serious critical questions on relocating back to Nigeria during retirement, or staying back in Canada, or looking for another, shopping for another country where we can relocate to for retirement. So yeah, I just said let me come say my brief summary of my stay in Nigeria. Yeah, that's the story for it. Okay, so this is more like me trying to, you know, warm up for creating useful content on this YouTube channel. And yeah, I promised that I was going to um this is my 5th year anniversary as an immigration consultant, and I promised that I'm going to do some giveaways. I am going to announce that in my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye bye.